How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today I want to talk to you about what the whales are doing in crypto right now because it's something new, something that they haven't done recently, and I can explain it here for you. It's actually something I've been looking at myself, and I think it's pretty interesting what's happening. So if you guys like this kind of content, it's going to be short, concise, to the point. If you guys like it, please hit the like, subscribe, let me know what cryptos you're buying underneath the video. While you're down there, you can check out the link to BlockFi. They just raised their rates on their crypto, so you can get an even higher interest rate on some of your cryptos. We see Bitcoin hovering around 49,400, a good pump. Now, part of this, I think, is due to what the whales are doing. We can see here on the left side is what happened over the last week. This is the CoinShares report, what institutional investors, large investors are doing. On the right, we have what they did last week. So we can see last week, they bought about $50 million worth of Bitcoin, 29 million worth of Ethereum, multi-assets, so all these other assets, about 6.4 million. Compare that to this week. We have inflows that are a little bit lower overall, 90 compared to 94.5, but Bitcoin is where the majority of money is going, right? We have $69 million going to Bitcoin, 20 million to Ethereum, and then we have 1.9 going to everything else, with some people actually taking money out of BNB and Polkadot. So what does this mean? Well, obviously it means that people are feeling very strongly about Bitcoin right now. The majority of money coming into the market, about 69 million out of the 90 million, is going into Bitcoin. About 75 to 80% is going into Bitcoin, as opposed to 52% the week before. So a lot of people think that Bitcoin is going to be the way to go. A lot of institutions think that that's going to be the way to go. So why is that? Well, we can actually see a lot of the dips are just being bought right away. So Bitcoin is looking very strong. But again, why is this happening? Well, we have this. We have earnings reports coming out here soon. This is not the main thing that I think is happening, but a lot of people realize, hey, Facebook is going to announce on October 27. We have Google announcing that week, Amazon. A lot of these big tech companies could be holding Bitcoin or other digital assets on their balance sheets. We have Visa that bought an NFT recently, Budweiser that bought NFTs. There is a lot of speculation that this is going to be the quarter that a lot of large companies bought $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, $500 million worth of Bitcoin, which would be huge for the whole market. In addition to that, we have a quote unquote 75% chance of approval in October for a Bitcoin ETF. Now, this is going to be futures based, which is not what we want necessarily. This is going to still push up the market, though, in my opinion. It's kind of the gateway, right? We've heard that before, where after this, maybe we will have ETF that's actually buying Bitcoin off the open market and making it a little bit less liquid. But still, a lot of big players, I think, are waiting on this. This is Bloomberg. This is a second person from Bloomberg I've seen that said that we're likely to get a Bitcoin ETF in October. We're already behind the 8 ball compared to some other countries. One other thing that could be happening sometime in the future, who knows whether it's this quarter or not, Michael Saylor talks about this, and this is the reason that he thinks a lot of large companies aren't actually buying Bitcoin, is because they don't have fair value accounting, right? Right now, when you hold Bitcoin, if the value of the Bitcoin goes down and then comes back up, you still lose money on your balance sheet according to how it is accounted for right now. So hopefully we can actually get the accounting changed so that way these companies have built a pristine balance sheet and pristine statements over the last 20 years. They won't see negative effects from owning a little bit of Bitcoin, right? So we have that, we have earnings, we have futures ETFs, right? We also have Bitcoin, which may be set to become legal tender in Brazil. So we know El Salvador adopted Bitcoin. We also now are getting reports out of Brazil that we're pretty close to having it become legal tender. Now, I've heard some people say, hey, this isn't actually good because they're going to regulate it a good amount. You can see this will allow transactions of this asset in our country, which will be regulated by a government agency. But they still think that this is very close to being done. The bill has widespread government adoption and has already been aligned with the president, meaning that there are a few barriers to its approval. They're actually getting ready to vote on this within the next couple days. So maybe some big news short term here. Why is this all so important? Well, it's all about the supply of Bitcoin, right? The illiquid supply of Bitcoin is near all-time highs. It's actually at all-time highs. So it's over 14.5 million Bitcoin is illiquid. That means that liquid Bitcoin, 3 to 4 million. What people don't understand is companies like Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy, they're just buying and they're holding. They're not planning on selling anytime soon. Michael Saylor said that today. They don't plan on buying and selling Bitcoin. They're going to buy and hold. He thinks this is a $100 trillion opportunity, which means 100x from here. He thinks it's going to hit $5 million per Bitcoin. So as the supply of Bitcoin continues to come down, the price movements are going to be much more volatile. A lot of people think, okay, for a Bitcoin to go from a $1 trillion market cap to a $2 trillion, we'll need another $1 trillion to come in. That's not the case. We actually have, in the past, Bank of America talked about how it took just $93 million to move Bitcoin's price by about 12 billion in market cap. So they say about 120x, right? If you buy a certain amount, it can move up the market 120x. Now I've heard about 25x more recently. So let's say some company decides to buy $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. No one knows about it, but they still buy $1 billion worth. It could move up the market cap 25 billion because a lot of it is illiquid, right? You don't need a one-to-one. The other thing to keep in mind is that miners aren't selling their Bitcoin. Marathon just announced their earnings here today, and they increased Bitcoin mining by 91%. Right now, they have produced about 1,250 new Bitcoin just in Q3, and they have over 7,000 Bitcoin. And they are not selling them. They actually got a $100 million revolving line of credit. Even though they have over $300 million worth of Bitcoin, they are not selling. They're holding on to it. So the supply isn't even raising because so many miners are holding on. So that's where it gets really interesting. If large institutions continue to buy and hold, and then retail gets a little bit of FOMO, we could see a huge price movement very quickly, which I think would push up Bitcoin first, and then it will dribble down to all the other cryptocurrencies, which is the really exciting part when you start talking about, okay, Ethereum at 10,000, 12,000, Cardano at $10. That is down the road, in my opinion. And there's a lot of exciting stuff in the short term for Bitcoin. So that's what the whales are doing. That's why they're doing it, in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts on this down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I'm going to cut it off before 8 minutes so that way you don't get any mid-roll ads. Thank you guys. Check out the links down below to BlockFi, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.